I won't speak for anybody else other than me. When I talk about this topic, it's not literally about the topic. It's about an intention now by people in positions that don't like the Christian faith specifically, where now that same-sex marriage is made legal, those in positions of authority that have emphasized this over years, pushing this, legislators being addressed and talked about and pursued, all of this has come to the conclusion of now we've got same-sex marriage legal in America. And people say, what's the big deal? You're not for equality, Frank? Is not love something that unifies all of us? And other than getting into a discussion or debate on those issues, I say it's much more than that. I say it's about an intention to ultimately not only suppress, but silence those of us that embrace religious freedom. And you may say, oh, that's ridiculous, Frank. I say, really? 3 stories just today. You may or may not know that Ray Comfort, who was a guest on my program last week, he's the founder of Living Waters Ministries. He even talked about his movie, Audacity. The video has been removed as a, quote, violation of YouTube's policy against spam, scams, and commercially deceptive content. Commercially deceptive content. What does that mean? The movie is based on unscripted testimonies of homosexual people. So again, you may say, well, that's a bit of a stretch. I say, okay, maybe, but I want to introduce that into the record as maybe one and the same in terms of this mindset. Story number 2. How many of you know who the Kleins are in Oregon? They're a husband and wife. They opened up a bakery a number of years ago, and 2 years ago, they kindly declined 2 women that walked in and asked that they would make a cake for their upcoming wedding. They declined. They said, I can't do that because of my religious belief. 2 years later, the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industry not only has fined the Kleins $135,000, they've now ordered a gag order. They've ordered the Kleins not to speak publicly about any of this. And my first thought is, number 1, you're telling a married couple that they're being forced to violate their religious views. Fined $135,000, and now they're ordered not to speak. And I ask myself, do we not have freedom of religion and freedom of speech still in our country? I suggest it's being slowly taken away, or at least the attempt. Enter story number 3, which is probably the biggest one. This is out of Washington. I'm going to read you, literally, the intention of some in positions in the LGBT community and others that have this issue with Christian faith. Not only are they ones who legislated and asked and petitioned and worked hard over the last few years to get same-sex marriage legal, now I profess to you they are out to punish dissenters. Listen to this story. Americans United for Separation of Church and State have announced yesterday the launch of an aggressive initiative to combat any state or federal legislation or court ruling seeking to protect religious objectors of same-sex marriage from government consequence for living according to their religious convictions. The organization, which advocates a strict separation view of the religious freedom clauses of the First Amendment, has started what they call the Protect Thy Neighbor Project, which will monitor and battle all state and federal legislation and court challenges that pertain to giving individuals, business, and religious institutions the right to not serve or participate in same-sex weddings on the basis that it would violate their religious beliefs. So again, for those of you that say, you Christians, you're poor losers, you're intolerant, you're not for equality, now that same-sex marriage is legalized, You're the ones that said, live and let live, love is love. Well, this is not love. This is about revenge. This is about punishing dissenters. Here's an organization, Americans United for Separation of Church and State. They've announced that they're doing this initiative to go after anyone in our United States of America that professes religious freedom or First Amendment rights as it applies to things like, now this is the beginning part now about same-sex marriage. So getting back to those of us that say, Frank, why is the church so hung up on talking about same-sex marriage and homosexuality? It's kind of the symptom of what the church is talking about. And the core of what this is about our very right to practice our faith.